The mirror above the bar was cracked, distorting Shanaya's reflection into something unrecognizable. The woman staring back at her looked tired, her skin stretched too thin over bones that had carried too much weight for too long. She traced the rim of the whiskey glass in front of her, its amber liquid reflecting the dim light. One sip, and she could forget. One sip, and she could stop feeling. But hadn't she fought too hard for this? Hadn't she promised herself, promised him, that she would keep going? Her fingers trembled as she reached for the glass. 1 year earlier. Xavier staggered into the meeting late, reeking of alcohol and bad decisions. His hands were shaking, his suit wrinkled, his tie missing. He barely managed to sit before the meeting leader sighed and paired him with someone. Shanaya will be your recovery partner. At first, she barely looked at him. She had learned not to get attached to broken things, people like them either sank or swam, and she had no energy left to pull someone else to shore. But Xavier was different. He didn't lash out. He didn't make excuses. He just sat there, rubbing his temples, looking like he was so damn tired of himself. "How long have you been like this?" she asked quietly one day. "Too long," he admitted. "I've ruined everything. My wife, she doesn't trust me. My son, he doesn't even know who I am anymore." Shanaya swallowed. "Then fix it before it's too late." She hadn't. Shanaya had once been someone too. Someone bright. Someone alive. She had a family once, a fiancé, a future. But one terrible mistake had taken it all away. One reckless decision, one night of selfish indulgence, and she had lost the only people who had ever truly loved her. There were no second chances for her. But Xavier still had a life to save. So she took him apart and helped him rebuild, piece by fragile piece. She was his safety net, his anchor, his guide through the darkness. And he made her feel something again. They were two broken souls who found solace in each other. And in another life, they might have had a chance. But this wasn't another life. "You love me?" Shanaya stiffened at Xavier's words. She wanted to deny it, but what was the point? "Yes," she whispered. "Then why are you pulling away?" Her throat burned. Because she knew what would happen. "If we stay together, we will fall back into our old ways," she said, her voice barely audible. "You don't know that," he argued. But she did. She had seen it before, people in recovery clinging to each other like lifelines, only to drag one another back down. If she let herself have this, if she let herself have him, she would destroy everything she had worked for. And worse, she would destroy him too. "Xavier, you still have a chance. You have a family. A wife who's waiting for you to fight for her. A son who deserves his father." His jaw clenched. "What about you?" She smiled then, a ghost of something that had once been real. "I don't have anything left to save." She watched as realization dawned in his eyes. She was giving him up. "No," he choked. "Shanaya, please," she reached out, brushing her fingers against his cheek one last time. "Go home, Xavier." He hesitated. Then, slowly, painfully, he turned and walked away. She had saved him. She had fixed him. But in doing so, she had broken herself all over again. Present day. The whiskey glass remained in front of her, untouched. She had made the ultimate sacrifice, given up the only person who had ever made her feel whole, just so he could have a life without her. She had heard through mutual friends that Xavier was doing well. He was sober. He had his family back. And Shanaya, she had nothing. She was back where she started. Alone. Tears burned her eyes, and she let them fall freely. She reached for the glass. Her fingers curled around it. If she drank, no one would care. There was no one left to stop her. But then, she let go. Shanaya pushed the glass away and stood up, wrapping her coat tighter around herself. Maybe she would never be whole again. Maybe she would always be broken. But tonight, she chose to keep fighting. And that had to be enough.